This
no,
is
it's
an issue.
but
what is the answer
Congressman,
to
I don't think you understand the insurrection.
Right, to Michael's...
Act.
Well, let me just ask, Congressman, do you actually know what the Insurrection Act says?
Yes, but this is...
hang on. What does it say?
Well, look, what we saw happen in January 6th in the Congress, that's insurrection.
That's not the question. The question is...
So Piers Morgan had Michael Knowles on Uncensored, and they brought in a Democrat to go up against him. And I'm telling you, from the moment this guy opened his mouth, you already knew exactly how this was going to go. Because it was the same thing, the exact same thing you've heard 100 times before. Same phrases, same lines, same energy, like he printed out a script on the way to the studio and just started reading from it. And Michael Knowles, instead of playing along, just stopped him right in the middle of it and said, okay, cool, but what does that actually mean? Define it. That's it. That was the whole move. Just define the term you keep using. And the guy couldn't do it. A Democrat on live television arguing about a law he clearly never sat down and actually read, repeating conclusions without being able to explain the reasoning behind a single one of them. And look, this isn't a one-time thing. This is the pattern. This is how it goes every single time. The moment someone slows it down and asks for a real answer, the whole thing collapses. So let's get into it, because what Michael Knowles does here on Piers Morgan Uncensored is worth watching closely. Check it out.
Specifically on the deployment of federal troops in states which are not DC, where obviously the federal government can do that. The president has that power. There is this raging argument now about whether it is constitutional, whether it is lawful for the president of the United States to do what Trump is now rolling out in places like Chicago. What is your view of that?
It's not only not legal, it's not only unconstitutional, but more importantly, it's not even good business, because this costs so much, putting federal troops in cities. Instead of that, if federal government can give the grants so that local police, law enforcement can hire more people. Right now, they are severely understaffed. They don't have the resources they need to keep our cities safe. Now, in a long-term process...
But aren't you answering your question?
I think you're making the point.
Right. In a way, what you just said is the rationale for doing it, isn't it? They're under-resourced. No. They don't have enough people. They can't control the crime. Donald Trump is recognizing this, and he's doing something about it. And I'm curious about how many regular Americans who live in some of these very crime-ridden inner cities in America are really as opposed to it as you sound like you are, because if you've got a lot of crime going on around you and the police are woefully under-resourced, why would you object to seeing some troops on the streets to just try and restore order and perhaps send a real message to criminals?
See, putting military and reserves all over America, major American cities, and militarization of our country is not the solution. The solution is empower the local law enforcement, give them the funds that they need. It's the funding that needs to come so we can have a more long-term, long-lasting solution to it.
Congressman, are you familiar with the Insurrection Act?
Yes, I am. And
so what do you think that's for? You said that this was illegal. You said it was not unconstitutional and illegal for the federal government to send National Guard into cities and states. What do you think the Insurrection Act is for?
Well, look, this is a issue that the local government should be handling. What is the answer to
I
don't think you understand the insurrection.
Right, so to Michael's... Well, let me just ask, Congressman, do you actually know what the Insurrection Act says?
Yes, but this is...
hang on. What does it say?
Well, look, what we saw happen in January 6th in the Congress, that's insurrection.
That's not the question. The question is, are you familiar? Obviously, the government is citing.
And here's what really got me about this whole thing. Even if you give this guy the benefit of the doubt, even if you say, okay, fine, he was trying to answer the question, what he actually said still wasn't an answer. Because there's a difference between defining a word and just pointing at something. Knowles asked him to define insurrection. Simple. What does the word mean? Break it down. And instead of doing that, instead of giving an actual definition, the guy just said, January 6th, that's insurrection. That's not a definition. That's an example, and not even a good one in this context. You can't ask someone what a word means and accept them naming an event as the answer. That's just redirecting. That's changing the subject while pretending you answered it. And the thing is, they all do this. Every single one of them. It doesn't matter who you put in that seat. They reach into the same bag and pull out the exact same response. Same words, same pivot, same non-answer, just delivered with total confidence, like they actually said something. It's like they're all running the same program, same input, same output every single time. No original thought behind it, no actual understanding of what they're even arguing. And the moment someone like Knowles pauses and says, no, actually answer the question, the whole system just freezes up.
The Insurrection Act as the empowerment to do what it's doing. Are you familiar with what the Insurrection Act
Yes, I am. But
allows?
look, this president has used all kinds of excuses to break the law. This president has used...
No, but that is the law. So what is the law, Congressman? You say you're familiar with the Insurrection Act, but you don't seem to be able to describe what it does, and you're actually contradicting it. So what do you think the Insurrection Act does?
Look, the issue here is that we need our cities safe. Americans want...
Well, Congressman, with all due respect, that's not an answer to the question. I mean, if you don't look,
can you lay out what you believe allows Donald Trump to act
well,
so
hang on, Jack, I'm going to come to you very shortly. But just to be clear, Congressman, it's a pretty simple question that Michael posed, which is the government are citing the Insurrection Act as the rationale and the legal tool by which they can do what they're doing. You said it's illegal and wrong, and they shouldn't be doing it. But you seem to be struggling to explain what the Insurrection Act actually is. And Michael, quite rightly, is saying, well, can you just tell us?
Well, whatever it is, when the National Guards are picking up trash and the National Guards are watering the flowers, that is not Insurrection Act, and that's not what this is meant to be.
But do you know what it is, the act?
Yeah.
What is it?
When there is an insurrection, the government has powers to use military, use reserve to address those situations. And this is clearly not the situation here. What we need to do is empower local law enforcement.
Okay, Michael, your response to that.
And look, this is a sitting United States congressman, not a random guy off the street, not someone who stumbled into a debate by accident. This is an elected government official who showed up to Piers Morgan Uncensored, presumably prepared to make a case. And what you get is this, before he even gets into the substance, before the first real exchange even happens, you can already sense that something is off. There's just a confidence there that has absolutely no foundation underneath it. Like someone who walked into a test without studying, but decided to act like they aced it anyway. And that energy carries through the entire debate, the over-talking, the pivoting, the recycled lines delivered like they're fresh arguments, the complete inability to define a law he came on television to argue about. This is a government official, someone who makes decisions that affect real people's lives, and he can't answer a straightforward question about a law that's been on the books for over 200 years. That's not just embarrassing for him, that's embarrassing for the whole process.
I think the congressman might be a little bit confused because he said that the federal government is breaking the law by sending the National Guard in to restore order to the cities where crime has spiraled out of control, where there's obviously a violation of federal law with all of the illegal aliens running about. And that is actually what it's for. We have a federal government in order to step in when the local and state governments fail. And so this has been used many, many times, not merely to restore order if there's some violent revolution, but even, for instance, to desegregate schools. This has been used many, many times over the course of American history. There's nothing illegal about it. And in fact, what President Trump is doing right now is one of the clearest and most just uses of the Insurrection Act when you have cities that are failing, that in your own words, cannot enforce the law, are under-resourced, and are falling into disorder. So I think you've made a good argument for what President Trump is doing.
Okay.
Well, look what he's doing.
Well, let me bring in Jack. I want to bring in Jack. He's been waiting patiently. I mean, Jack, it seemed to me the congressman actually, maybe inadvertently, gave the explanation for why Trump feels justified in using the Insurrection Act. Because if you agree that the law enforcement in these very crime-ridden cities is failing and under-resourced, then why shouldn't the government use the Insurrection Act to put troops on the ground and try and restore proper order?
Well, because I don't think the intention is to restore proper order. Donald Trump and his entire administration has made it clear that they'd be happy to see unrest come out of sending in the National Guard. That's what they wanted out of their attack on LA. That's what they wanted to happen in D.C. Donald Trump sees this as an opportunity to intimidate people. It's come out directly of the administration that they think it is a win if they go into Portland and nothing happens, but nothing is happening. It's people in T-Rex Halloween costumes who are getting maced for simply exercising their First Amendment right, which, Michael, I thought you cared about. It doesn't really seem like that's the case. But they've also said that if there is
where are you getting that from? Hold on. Before you make you made an argument.
I think if you would allow me to finish my point,
the Trump administration wants disorder and has admitted this. What's your evidence?
You don't like to hear people speak out, and now I'm delivering a point that you don't seem to like, and you want to silence me. That's what this administration does. It's okay. You don't have the power to do that today.
Now, Jack, to be clear, you made a statement that the Trump administration actively wanted disorder.
And here's the part that's genuinely funny when you think about it. A Democrat coming on live television and accusing someone else of talking over people and shutting down conversation. That's the move. That's what they went with. Because that right there is the most classic leftist debate tactic in the book. Every single time, without fail. The moment they feel the conversation slipping away from them, the moment they realize the argument isn't landing, they don't regroup. They don't come back with a better point. They just get louder. They just start cutting people off. They talk over the other person and hope nobody notices that they never actually answered the question. It happens every single time someone from that side sits down across from Michael Knowles. Every single time. You can almost set a timer on it. And another thing, if you're going to make a serious accusation against the person you're debating on live television in front of everyone, you better have something real to back it up. Because if you throw out a claim with nothing behind it, you should fully expect to get stopped. You should expect someone to look at you and say, where are you getting that from? What's your proof? That's not silencing you. That's just basic accountability. But accountability is exactly what they can't handle. And that's exactly why this exchange went the way it did. Michael Knowles walked into this calm, stayed calm the entire time, and just let this government official unravel himself in front of everybody. Didn't even have to try that hard. And that says everything. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What did you make of this whole exchange on Piers Morgan Uncensored? Because Michael Knowles didn't even break a sweat. Let me know below.